And how great it is to be with you this morning. Welcome to Oxford Bible Fellowship. My name is Garrett, and I'm the lead pastor here at the church. If you are a returning college student, welcome back. We're so glad you're here. If you're visiting with us for the weekend because you have a student in town, welcome. We're so glad you're here. You kind of jumped in with us to a unique time in the life of our church. And so I do have a message to deliver today, although it is not a usual type of message. We're going through the gospel according to Mark, as some of you know. Today is a little bit different because we are in this little pocket of time that we have going on in our church, and so we're going to spend some good time this morning talking about that. When I was 16, I learned how to drive a stick shift. Now, I know a lot of people don't learn how to drive stick shifts anymore these days. But when I was 16, my parents took me to the parking lot mall, and they put me in the car, and they said, okay, now this is what you do. You've got 3 pedals by your feet, you've got the clutch, you've got the brake, and you've got the gas. And if you want to start going, you've got to push in the clutch, you've got to put it into first gear, and you slowly let go of the clutch, and then you push on the gas at the same time, and the car will then go forward. Now, as a 16-year-old, I'm like, okay, got it, Dad. Right? I'm like, jerking the collar over the mall parking lot. I say that to you because we as a church, I honestly believe we're at a clutch moment. Now, what I mean by that is this, that with these 2 weeks in particular, the life of this church, a long 45-year, almost 50-year history, the clutch is in, and we've been in 1 gear, and the clutch is in, and it's time for us to change gears. It's time for us to put our gas pedal down, let go of the clutch, and get moving. And I put before us a pretty high challenge. Some of you are aware of the challenge, and this is what we know, that as challenges escalate, the need for teamwork elevates. The higher the challenge, the more it's going to take to get there. I was reading this past week about a group of people who were climbing Mount Everest. And if you're a climber at all, not at all, it doesn't really matter, but if you know Mount Everest, the highest peak in the whole world, and it takes roughly 200 to 300 people to prepare to get to the top of Mount Everest. People taking 750 pounds of weight from one camp to the next. It takes a massive amount of teamwork to climb a huge mountain. As a church, we're not climbing Mount Everest, but we are at this moment in time, this pocket, this clutch moment, and the challenge is escalating, and it is escalated, and it's going to require a lot of teamwork. And this is what I see. I see that God's brought together a great group of people at this church, at this time, who are ready to step up to this challenge. It's honestly what I believe. We are at this moment where we are saying yes to what God is calling us to do. I said yes to it. I said yes when the Lord led my family here a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago. And here we are at this moment, jumping back into what we're calling Rev It Up. And what I want to do for just a few minutes, I just want to share my heart with you. Because I think it's important for you to understand, where am I coming from? Where's Garrett in this? This past couple months have been interesting for us as a church. We've gone through all kinds of different twists and turns and things that have been unexpected things that have happened. And I want to show you a couple things that have been happening in my own heart through these past couple months. And I'm going to share 2 of them. The first is this. I'm understanding and learning that life's unpredictable twists and turns are opportunities to make failure my friend. None of us likes failure. None of us sets out to fail. But what I've learned in the process of learning is that the twists and turns that life presents us as a body, as an individual, as your life, my life, that those twists and turns that are unpredictable are glorious opportunities to make failure our best friend in life. And I'll tell you right now, I'm standing before you saying, I didn't know where this thing was going to go. And I still don't know where it's going. But what I'm learning is to not make options for failure unnecessary. Meaning, what I mean by that is this, that I'm willing to take a step out of faith and say, God, you're going to do something beyond what I can possibly do, what I can do alone, and something only He can do. It's one of the things I've just been processing and learning with you. The second thing is this, life is a gift and I intend to give it away. My life. My life is a gift. And I intend to give it away to you, to my family, to my children, to the world that God has put me in. I have life, I have breath, I am breathing today, and I'm going to give it away. And I will not live with a what-if syndrome, saying, well, what if, kind of cautiously moving forward, saying, I don't know. I want to give my life away. And so in this process, I'm learning to reject passivity. I think it's easy as the older we get to say, I'm just going to reject or just live a life of passivity and just kind of go along with the flow and just never grow and never process and never get better. But what I'm learning is this, that I am not going to sit back in my life and just wait for things to happen. I'm willing to do things that other people are just talking about doing. And primarily because of 2 Timothy 1:7, which says this, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline." This is the spirit of power, love, and self-discipline that God has given us. Not fear, not timidity, but to say, go and keep going in life. Through this process, as a church, I'm growing. I'm a grower. And so I'm inviting you to grow with me. However God is leading you in this process, whatever He decides to lead you through, these are a couple things that are in my heart that you need to know kind of where I'm at, and I'm just inviting you to come grow with me. And grow at the leadership. So today we're restarting Rev It Up. Now some of you have no idea what Rev It Up is. And some of you are clued into what we're doing, and so we're restarting it, and in one sense, we actually never really stopped. We're just kind of bringing it back, because we've gone through this process the last couple months, and I don't need to describe the details of it, but we had some twists and turns that we weren't expecting in the process this past fall with the city of Oxford, but here we are now, sitting in a really good position, because the city of Oxford has approved our expansion plans. And so out in the lobby today, you'll see a couple great pictures out there of the floor plan, the reworking of our site plan, the building, all that good stuff. We are sitting here today, restarting Rev It Up, but what I need to do is bring everyone up to speed, because some of you were here past fall, some of you were not here. So in order for us to get all on the same page, I want to understand where we all are, so bring you all into the process. Rev It Up has two main objectives. Dan, you can put these up on the screen, okay? The first one is this: impact our generation. So no matter what generation you come from, whether you are a millennial, whether you come from the I generation, whether you're Generation X, whether you are a baby boomer, whoever you are, we are a generational church. If you look around the room, there are different generations represented here. This is what we know, is that every generation in our world is desperate for hope. All around us are people who are desperate for help and hope. So I just want to unpack a couple of these categories that I see from where I sit, and you can probably relate to some of these things. Marriages are struggling. Yesterday, my wife and I sat down and we just recounted how many people that we've known in our life in the past 2 to 3 years that are no longer married today. They decided, we're going to cut this off. I no longer love you. I no longer want to be committed to you. And so they got a divorce. 5 couples that we know of in the past 2 to 3 years who are no longer married. They called it quits. Marriages are struggling. The other side of it, people are delaying marriage. They don't want what their parents have. Maybe some of that you college students today, you sit and you go, I don't want what my parents have. I don't want what their marriage look like. That's bogus. I don't want that, so I'm not going to get married. I'm just going to cohabitate. We're going to try it out. We're going to do a trial run. And so they're all over the map. Marriages are struggling. Friends, I sit at the sidelines of my kids' soccer games, and I hear husbands complaining about their wives. Breaks my heart. This institution, this relationship that God created since the very beginning of the Garden of Eden, being broken down by commitment phobia or because I don't love you anymore. Whatever it may be, marriages are struggling and we need help. My marriage also needs help. We're growing as well. The other side of it is this: fathers are disengaged and emotionally distant. Not across the board, but in general, many of the college students who come here, not all of them, because some of them have fantastic fathers, but a lot of them have a father who's disengaged emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. And so many college students come in, they have no father figure in their life. They have no male kind of leadership in their life, and so they come in and they have this void in their life. Fathers disengaged, emotionally distant. This is a problem that needs to be addressed. Beyond this, we have a town that's full of college students, thousands of college students, around 16,000. But beyond that, high school students and middle school students. And the pressures that they feel academically, athletically, socially, to outperform their peers. My kids feel it. You probably feel it. To say, I've got to be the best. I got to put myself above where everybody else is, climbing to the top. The result is negative and destructive thought patterns, sexual activity, abusive relationships, and high-risk behaviors. Now, That's like the tip of the iceberg. I heard a story this past semester of a college student, one of the Miami students, who was telling me this story, that someone on his floor was using their entrepreneurial business skills from the Farmer School of Business to develop their dorm room into an outpost for drug sales. That ought to break our hearts. All of those things that I just described, it's just a few, right? Our generation is helpless and hopeless without the gospel. You know, we are living in a society where we are more connected than ever because of social media. I mean, relationships are just in and out all the time. Information is just flowing constantly. Probably by the time this message is over, you'll probably have all these text messages, Facebook posts, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever else is out there. You know, all these, we are more connected socially than ever, and yet at the same time, human connectivity is probably at its lowest point. What I mean by that is this: we can feel connected on our social media sites, but actually having a relationship with people, real people, generations connecting with one another, perhaps we are lacking in one generation mentoring another generation because we're relying upon social media to connect us rather than the people, the flesh and blood that are sitting right in front of us. Why am I telling you all this? Those are just a few things. Why am I telling you this? Every generation is helpless and hopeless, and friends, we have the good news of the gospel to bring to this generation, this church, located right where it is. If you just look out there, look, there's freshman dorms. We have thousands of college students, literally within walking distance, reaching distance. God put this church here for a reason almost 50 years ago. We have an opportunity so rare, so unique, so compelling that we have to say, God, what do we need to do to impact our generation? What must we do to set a trajectory for these students, for their life, for the rest of their life, and not waste time? Rev it up. I'm revving it up. I feel my enthusiasm and excitement because this is not about facility expansion solely. This is about us developing a heart for the lost. For the lost people in our town who don't know the saving grace that we're singing about this morning. The song is bought, forgiveness bought with the blood of Jesus. This is about our heart for the lost growing, saying, how many people in our town don't know the Lord? And friends, Oxford Bible Fellowship cannot meet every single person in this town. I'm not interested in taking people from another church and bringing them in here. God bless our churches in town. Bless Cobblestone. Bless Crossroads. May their ministries grow beyond their capacity. Oxford Bible Fellowship needs a heart for the lost. Rev It Up is about us developing our heart. Say, what has God given us? How can we use that to be a hub for gospel transformation right where God has put us? The other piece of this initiative is to grow our future. So let's be honest. Our current facility is not conducive for our current ministries now or for our future ministries. So if you've been around here at all for any past years of time, you might be thinking, well, Garrett, I look around and there's open chairs all over the place. What are you talking about? It's not conducive for our ministries. Listen, friends, I see open chairs just like you do. But you know what? The ministries of this church isn't just happening right here. You know, we're sitting in rows. It's Andy Stanley who says that transformation doesn't happen in rows, it happens in circles. Okay, so if we're saying all the ministries are going to happen in this room right here, friends, we need to change our perspective. Because if you go across the hallway to our youth group right now, you go downstairs to our children's ministries, you come here on Wednesday morning for our women's Bible study, on Wednesday nights for our men's ministries and our youth group, you can say, wow, there's so much more going on just in this little room right here. And this morning, I made this point in the first service, that our youth is meeting over there in the second service right now. Below them are our 4th and 5th graders. I want to encourage you to go downstairs sometime and walk around our children's ministries area, and perhaps even go down there during 4th and 5th grade while our youth group is playing a game on Sunday morning. My office is down there right now. I get it. It's this. Yeah, the youth group's going awesome. They're having their games. They're just doing their thing. The youth group too. And downstairs, our 4th and 5th graders, led by Allison and Paige Farmer, can't even communicate the things that they're communicating to our 4th and 5th graders about the awesome names of God. Because they can't even hear. Friends, our youth need their own space. They need to make it their own. Last night, this room here was not set up properly because it was left from Wednesday night with bowling pins, and it was all messed up here. We're saying, and what happened? Our youth group was in this room on Wednesday night. Forgot to get set back up. That's okay. We're okay sharing space. But you have to understand, our youth need their own space. Our children need their own space. If we're going to impact our generation, that generation, we're going to minister to college students where they want to be here, we need to address our facility concerns. It's bigger than what we're doing right now. We need to prepare this church for its ministries for the next 25 to 50 years. And this facility will not do it. It won't. We want to create a ministry hub where it is efficient and sufficient for current ministries and for future ministries. So here's our goal. Our goal in the next 2 years is to raise 1.4 for impacting our generation and 1.1 for growing our future, for a total of 2.5 million. Over the next 2 years. So all of our giving over the next 2 years is going into what we're calling one fund. And so this is unique because what it is a very holistic approach, which we believe that God has got some amazing things for us to do. And all of our giving is going to go to support those things, our ministries locally, globally, all the missionaries we support, which we don't even talk about this morning, are in our facility expansion, all going into one fund. Now, one fund is not your typical capital campaign. So, if you have a history with capital campaigns, maybe you've gone through a couple ones before, I need you to somehow be able to separate out what we're doing with that previous experience. Because usually, this is what typically happens in capital campaigns. Okay? You've got ministries and you've got facility expansion. And the call is to say, will you please give over and above your giving so we can meet all of our needs for our facility? And some people in traditional campaigns will say yes, and then what happens is they take money from they were giving to ministries and they move it over to expansion. And that's one approach to do it that way. But typically what happens is that money that was then given to facilities doesn't always go back to ministries, and so ministry suffers long-term and also in the short term. Now, there's nothing wrong with traditional campaigns, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, but we're doing something completely different. It's called a one fund, because what we believe is that everything that God's calling us to do is going to go into one fund. It's not going to be separated into facility and expansion. It is facility and ministry expansion across the board. So when you give to OBF, you will be giving to both ministry and our facilities. So one fund is totally different. I didn't come up with it. It's not my brainchild, okay? I'm not that smart. So it's someone else's idea that I thought, that's awesome. And here's why I think it's awesome. Because this initiative is about accelerating a culture of generosity. It's about us growing as generous people. It's not something about raising money. I am not a fundraiser. I'm not all that great with money and numbers. Someone corrected me between first and second service about something I said in the first service. So here I am. I'm the pastor, okay? I care about you spiritually. And this is what I know, that money and materialism is one of our greatest cultural idols, and it leaks into the church, and if you don't believe it, you should look around. The one fund is, in my estimation, one of the best ways for us to accelerate a culture of generosity, to say we want to grow as generous people. And so the call is for you and me to expand our giving so that we can do everything God's calling us to do, locally, globally, and facility expansion. It is a spiritual endeavor with spiritual outcomes. What I want to do for just a few minutes is talk about a couple of things. If this is a spiritual endeavor with spiritual outcomes, what are the things that I want for you? What are the benefits that I want for you? Not just from you, but these are the things I want for you. There's 5 of them. We're going to go through these. The first one is this. Living generously is going to accelerate your transformation. So John 3:16 says this. We love this verse. It's on the football end zones. It says this: "For God so loved the world, God so loved the world so much that He gave His one and only Son, so that whoever believes in Him will not perish but have eternal life." Great verse. And I want to tell you a little story. A few weeks ago, an individual in our family's life had a birthday. And so as his birthday gift to me and my wife, he wrote me a text message and said, "You no longer have to send payments for your mortgage." This is a true story. You're looking at me like, "Yeah, you're making this up." No. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, and he said, he sent me a Greek word. I don't even tell you the Greek word. It is finished. And I don't know if you've ever been the recipient of someone's generosity like that, but it is so humbling. It is so just like overwhelming that I'm still speechless because I don't even know how to describe this supernatural, unnatural act of generosity. But this is what I know about that person. They believe and they live John 3:16. For God loved the world so much that He gave His only Son, unleashing His Son so that individual can have eternal life. And so as a manifestation of a way to live out that truth of the gospel, He says to Naomi and I, "You no longer have to spend money on your mortgage. Are you kidding me?" It's hilarious. A person's been gripped by the gospel. Their life has been transformed. And so, last fall, Naomi and I made our commitment to rev it up. We filled out a commitment card. We put it and said, "God, by faith, this is what we believe that You've called us to do." And so we're praying about what is the reality of that just happened for us. That may never ever happen in your life. It may never happen again in my life again. But I'm sharing that with you because this individual, it's not about me. It's like that individual gets John 3:16 in a way that I don't even get. Because in a world that's hoarding and storing generosity is like just a reflection of God's heart to the world. It says, "God, You've been so good. You're the best giver. You're the first giver. You give life in the Garden of Eden. We are living and breathing today only because of how good God is." And when I give, I'm simply saying, "God, let me somehow, in my small way, reflect Your heart of generosity to the world around me." I want to become like Jesus. And generosity accelerates that transformation. That's what I want for you. Second, living generously accelerates your freedom. 1 Timothy 16 says this: "For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and some people, craving money, have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows." Notice what the verse says. It says that the money is evil, but the love of money, underlined, bolded, it is the love of money that is the root of all evil. You see, it's what our hearts do with money. As it is with so many good things in God's creation, that our sinful, broken hearts take what is meant for good, that He designed for good. You go through categories of this, and it is our hearts that manipulate it, twist it, mangle it into something God never intended it to be. It is the love of money that is the root of all evil. Money itself is not evil. It is what our hearts do with it. Notice the verse also says that the love of money, this problem in our hearts produces great sorrow. Desire for riches and to be rich can make someone a very unhappy person. Some of you know Rockefeller, and he was once asked this question. Rockefeller was a very rich man, and he made a lot of money. He was also a great philanthropist. He was asked this question: "Rockefeller, how much is enough?" And some of you know the answer. He said this: "Just one more dollar." Just one more. The thing about Rockefeller is he understood giving it away. Well, how many of us live life saying internally in our minds, how much is enough? And we think, just one more. Just one more. I just need one. And when we get it, it's one more. And so what do we do with what we have? Do we love it? Crave it? Want it? Desire it? True faith, wandering from that, being pierced with many sorrows, or do we let it go, being free from an enslaved heart that says, I am no longer enslaved to materialism, money, and these things don't possess me. I'm free. I want to live that way. I think you do too. Third, living generously accelerates your confidence. 2 Timothy 3:16 says this, teach those who are rich in this world. By the way, that's all of you and I. Looked on the scale of poverty and riches in the world, you and I are in the very top. Some of us are in the very top 2%. Teach those who are rich in this world not to be proud, not to trust in their money, which is so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyment. What a great verse, isn't it? The great illusion of having money is that the false security it can give us. It's very easy, isn't it? I feel this temptation inside of me that if I have enough, whatever I think is enough, I feel secure. But if I don't have, then I feel insecure. That's my heart. That places my confidence in Benjamin Franklin's. Let's say this though. If you had two buckets in front of you, and you had the opportunity to put your confidence, your hope in one of the two of them, and one of them is wealth, that is a leaky bucket. Because at the bottom of that bucket is a hole. And if wealth, that bucket got a hole in it, you put your confidence in that, where does your confidence go? Right at the bottom. Wealth is not a good container for your confidence. Wealth is not a good container for you to feel secure in life. The other bucket, so to speak, I know it's not a good illustration, it doesn't fit that, but say that God is that other container, so to speak, where you put all your confidence in Him. And you can trust Him and His unchanging character, and the result of that is your confidence will increase because He's not leaky, because He can hold your confidence, He can uphold it, He can strengthen it. He's the source of all your confidence. And so the secret of contentment in life is knowing that you've got a source of confidence that will never change, that can hold it and contain all of that. So the question is this, what do I do with what I have? There's some college students here today, and they think that financial security will provide them with a secure future. And so the ultimate goal of graduating from Miami is to have a job that it's 6 figures or 7 figures or whatever it may be. Let me encourage you, if that's you, you're a college student, if that's where your trajectory is, you think that's what's going to make me secure in life, be careful. That's a leaky bucket. The other side of it is this. I know people in my life, and I've seen it happen. Some people have the ability to make money. I'm not one of them. Never have it. But there are some people that I look at their life and I'm like, man, God has just blessed them with the ability to make money. And if that's you are that college student who you can run like 5 businesses. We know people in town, they run like college students coming out, they're like 3 businesses in town. They can just make money. Make as much money as you possibly can and give away as much money as you possibly can. Go for it. But don't hoard it. Don't put your confidence in it. Don't think it's your security in life. Put your security and trust in God. So what do you do with what you have? You grab onto Jesus. And you place all your security in Him and not what's in your bank account. I want you to have that kind of confidence in life. Fourth, living generously accelerates your life. 1 John 3:16-17 says this, we know what real love is because Jesus gave up His life for us. And so we also ought to give up our lives for our brothers and sisters. If someone has enough money to live well and sees a brother or sister in need but shows no compassion, how can God's love be in that person? What a striking verse, isn't it? If we just let that verse just kind of sink into our lives for just a minute, it's like just potent, full of just like, ouch. If we have enough money to live well, and we see someone who has a need, but we show no compassion, how can God's love be in that person? It hardly needs any explanation, does it? If you and I see a need, and we close off our hearts saying, nope, I can meet that, but nope. What it's saying is that God is not in your heart. Intentionally and willfully doing nothing about needs that we could meet should cause us to have an internal pause and to diagnose what is filling our hearts. Love for God, love for money. God showed His love for us in sending Jesus to meet our greatest need. He held nothing back, folks. It's not as if He said, well, I'll give you a little bit of my Son, but the rest of it I'm going to keep to myself. I'm going to give you a little bit of me, but the rest of it I'm going to hold on for me. No, He gave us everything in Jesus, holding nothing back. What a great model for a life living of sacrificial, just living, grateful sacrifices. This is the life that we can live. A life that says that is truly living a life of grateful sacrifices that mirrors the greatest sacrifice that was ever done for us. That's life. Real life. I love life. That says I get the love of God. Fifth, living generously accelerates through action. Great verses from 2 Corinthians. You can put both those up on the screen, Daniel. 2 Corinthians 8:7 says this. Since you excel in so many ways, in your faith, your gifted speakers, your knowledge, your enthusiasm, and your love from us, I want you to excel also in this gracious act of giving. That's 8:7. Then 9:7 says, you must each decide in your heart how much to give, and don't give reluctantly or in response to pressure, for God loves a person who gives cheerfully. Now, in these two verses, really close to each other in 2 Corinthians, Paul is addressing this very wealthy Corinthian church, wanting them to excel in giving. And so he's saying, you're doing great in all these other areas, in your speaking, your enthusiasm, your love, all these other great things. And then he's saying, excel in the gracious act of giving. Because giving is an act of obedience. It's an act of love. It's all these things we're talking about. He's saying, I want you to excel in these things. Don't settle in them. Excel. Keep going. And he says, not under pressure. Don't do it when you're forced to do something that you really didn't want to do. Don't do it reluctantly, meaning giving and then wishing you hadn't given it, regretting, thinking of all the things you could have done with what you gave away. So he says, don't do it that way. Don't do it reluctantly. Don't do it under pressure. Do it cheerfully, he says. Some of us have been giving for a very long time. Some of us haven't given $1 ever. Some of us are just starting out. Friends, there's no finish line in our giving. Sometimes we get this assumption that 10% is the finish line. Now, I got my 10%, and I'm good. I'm good. I can do whatever else I want with the rest of the 90%. I give God 10%, and I get 90%, and this is just the deal that God and I have. That's how it works, right? That is simply saying, I'm going to ease into a life of control, not excel in the gracious act of giving. So if I have an internal goal that says, well, that's it. I've capped, I'm done, woo! That's easing into a life of control. Paul is saying, don't ease, excel, press forward. How can you do this? You do it proportionally, which means you do it in proportion to your ability to give. No one's going to ask anyone to give beyond what their abilities are to give. You do it systematically and incrementally, which means not only when you think about it, or you give on the bottom, but intentionally giving our first. It means giving sacrificially. Is there something that you'd really like to do that you cannot do because of your giving? That's sacrificial giving. And cheerfully, laughing, enjoying your giving, because you actually get to do it. These are all things I want for you as your pastor. These are things that I want for me, for my family. That these are the things you say, I want to be transformed. I want freedom. I want confidence. I want life. I want action. And so those are things that I need you to feel and things I need you to know, but there's also something I want you to do, and I want you to do it right now. In front of you is a card that looks like this. So everyone, pull out the card. I'm going to explain this. So I'm actually going to ask you, when I meant to do something, you're not turning in your card right now. I want you to pull it out of the seat pocket. And I want you to pick it up so I can actually see that you actually did it. That's crazy, right? I'm actually going to do something. There's only a few of you. Okay? This is the card, and next Sunday is Commitment Sunday. And next Sunday, I'm going to ask you to turn in your commitment card to Rev It Up. And so this is an important time for us as a church to say, okay, what is my commitment to this? How can I go all in and rev it up? This past fall, 30 people turned in these cards already. And so that was the leaders of the church, the elders, the pastors. We said, leaders lead, and we should lead. We go first. Leaders are not, the ones who go last. We go first in this. And so let me just encourage you. Your leaders are leading. Your elders are all behind this. The staff is all behind this. We're all in, baby. We put it all out there. And then some other people followed us and said, yeah, I'll go in. I'm in. And so 30 people have committed so far in our initiative, which is fantastic. Now, there's a lot of people. We have about 153 giving units. You're a unit, sorry, if you give. But 153 people who usually give to this church. That means there's other people who are not committed, and that's fine, because maybe they were waiting. I want to show you how to fill out this card, because this is an important piece of communication from you to us as a leadership team. So, Dan, you can put up on the screen here a couple different scenarios. The first one is this. Let's say you look at this card, and you look at the first box, and it says, what I normally give to the church in a year. You say, nothing. I don't give a dime, but you want to start. So you put a 0 there. And then you're thinking internally, okay, what am I going to commit to this next year to give? And I said, well, maybe I can commit $20 a week. Okay, so then you put, 20 times 52. I think this is right. Someone correct me or not. It's $10,000 or $1,040. Okay, put that up there. Okay, that's $20. Excuse me. Whoa. $20 a week. Okay, you put that there, and you say, okay, that is my commitment there for that. I put that there total. Because the first one was a 0, you total with that one, that's there. You times it by 2, that's 2,080. Now, if you look at that, that's encouraging, right? If I've never given anything to the church, and I'm understanding how generosity works the way you're describing it, Garrett, and I'm in, I want to do it. Look at that. That's awesome. To say in 2 years, you're going to give $2,080. That's awesome. And if that's you, the first time giving, we're going to celebrate that. And you say, you know what? I've got actually $20 that I want to give extra. You put that $20 there for a My Resource gift. You tally it up for the total there of $2,100. Okay? That's a first time potentially giving card. Now, college students, you can do this. I believe you can. There are other people here who've never given. This is their home church and they've never given. You're being challenged to do something about this. And so this is what you're going to be filling out this week. Okay? So that's one scenario. The second scenario is this. You can put that up there now, Dan. The second scenario is this. Let's say you've been giving for a while to the church, and what you normally give to the church in a year is about $5,000. Now, if you don't know what that number is, this is tax time, by the way, if you didn't know, right? So if you don't know what that number is, you can go onto our church database system, CCB, and you can log in and say, what did I give in 2017? You would put that number in there. And if you don't have access to CCB, you need to find out what you gave this past year. Come talk to me, talk to Ryan Wodel, talk to someone on staff. We'll get you hooked up so you know exactly what that number is. You say, okay, 2017, this past year, I gave $5,000. My additional annual generosity commitment, say I'm going to give an extra $500 a year. You put $500 right there. You total up, that's $5,500 right there. Okay, you times that by 2, that's $11,000, right? I mean, look at that. That's encouraging, right? To say, wow, over the next 2 years, I'm going to commit to giving that. Now, it's however it comes in, but that's what it is there. And let's say then, you know what? You've got a stored resource gift. You want to add that into the mix. You put that in there, Daniel. You say, I've got $500 in my savings account that's just been kind of burning a hole in my pocket. Or let's say I got a house I got to sell, and I got to get rid of it. I got a car I want to sell. I've got stocks I need to get rid of. Whatever it may be. And so, I'm going to add that in. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to, stocks, whatever it is, you add that in there. Total that up for $11,500 for your 2-year generosity commitment to Rev It Up. That's how you fill out the card. Now, all sorts of different scenarios. Everyone's in a different spot in life. And I get that. But I'm giving you a challenge to step up and do this with us together. So there are 2 things I want you to do this week. The first is this. I need you to take this card. I want you to put it in your pocket, put it in your purse, put it in your Bible, whatever, and I need you to pray. I want you to pray this week about what God is leading you to do with the things that He has given you, with all that you're saying, I'm in. Garrett, I'm in. And I need you to pray and ask God to clearly lead you what it is that He's asking you to do. I don't want you to come next week without having prayed about it. Please don't fill it out if you haven't prayed. You need to seek the Lord and to give everything God's calling you to give. Not $1 more, not $1 less. And that's between you and the Lord. Not between you and me. That's between you and the Lord. And so this is a chance for you to say, okay, God, what are you asking me to do in this initiative? And the second thing is this, commit. Next week, on Sunday morning, February 4th, I'm going to call you to get out of your seat and walk up here and put your commitment card into some sort of cool thing we're going to create up here. Okay? To say, I'm in. The leaders are in. Other people have gone in. And I'm going to call you to go all in. My hope is that 100% of us will fill out a card of some kind this week. Friends, we are at a clutch moment, aren't we? The clutch is in. It's time to change gears. We gotta go, people. It's time. The challenge is escalating. And it's going to require all of us. Friends, I'm counting on you. You can count on me. Let's do this together. Let's pray. Father, as we gather together this morning to worship you, to exalt you, we do know that this issue of talking about money is hard for us at certain times. And yet at the same time, we know that Jesus, you talked about money so much. And so I pray that what would happen in this church would be, our hearts would be grasped and gripped by the message of the saving grace of Jesus Christ. And the result of that would be us saying, God, it's all yours. Lord, for those in this church who are saying, yeah, God, I want to follow you, I pray that you would give them wisdom this week. I pray that you would lead them to make good decisions, and that you would help them to be full of faith. Thank you for all that you're doing in this church. This is about you. It's not about us. We want your name to be exalted. In Jesus' name.